All right, we've got an exciting episode here today, but before I get into it, I'm going to give you guys a code. This code you can use every time you're hungry. Every time you're watching a game with your friends, every time you're watching a main event, a pay-per-view, a Sunday night football, a Thursday night football, this code is called FFC20, and you guys can order yourself Hooters, wings, or whatever's on the menu via takeout or delivery, guys, and save yourself $10 on an order of 30 or more. Hooters is a sponsor of the show, guys. It's a brand I believe in. It's a place I like to hang out. And I'm telling you guys, I love the wings when I'm watching the game. So right now, guys, go write it down. The code is FFC20 for Fantasy Football Counselor 20. That's the code. I'm going to have it here on the top of the screen throughout the entire show. So you guys don't forget, wherever you're hungry, whenever you're lonely, whatever the mood, just order from Hooters, guys, and save some money. The code is FFC20. Go to the site or download the Hooters app and the link here below, Hooters.com. Go get some wings right now. Today we're talking about top 10 fantasy football running backs. Big episode here. Got some surprises here for you guys, similar to the running back episode. If you have not seen that, big episode, top 10 wide receivers. Ready to dive in. I'm super excited. Are you guys? Let's go. Welcome to the show, guys. We are talking top 10 wide receivers. Again, before we get into this, guys, make sure you head on over to Hooters right now. Use that code, Hooters.com. Go pick up, guys, or delivery. $10 off your order. The code is FFC20. Go use that code. Secondly, guys, this is very important, guys. Get the 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below, everybody. This is going to help you guys crush your league. Sleepers, breakouts, optimal players drafted in each round. Everything you guys need. 16-round draft solution. Now, that's a draft solution. If you want in-season, that's Fantasy 365. If you want direct access, I got Fantasy Frontlines, which is a Patreon group, exclusive podcast, live streaming, direct advice from me, guys. That is an actual lifestyle. Fantasy Frontlines, linked it below here, or go to patreon.com/FFCounselor. Tons of stuff for you guys. I'll give you guys all the tools to succeed, but most importantly, need that optimal draft. So get 16 rounds. Link in the bio. Use code TUBE20. Save yourself 20%. Now, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, thumbs up, and of course, guys, let me know below. What do you guys think of this list? Does it make sense? What would you guys do? Love to get your feedback, all right? We're going to work our way from 10 all the way down to the number one receiver here in fantasy football this year. And I want to do another disclaimer here when we're talking fantasy football wide receivers, okay? Typically, I'm avoiding all wide receivers early. I want to get that out in the open, guys. I want you guys to understand my thinking, guys. That I want to emphasize this is you got to go robust RB, okay? So that there's a method to my madness. So I'm going to be fading most of these top wide receivers, and I want you guys to understand this. So I want to hammer that point home, and I want it to sink in. There's a ton of depth at wide receiver. So that's the first thing. I want to get that out in the open. Ton of depth at wide receiver. We're talking fantasy football draft strategy. You got to go robust RB because you're securing the most secure position, which is, the running back, and the most scarce position, right? You want to secure it. You want to anchor your team with the running back. So I'm going to go over this list of wide receivers, but it's just a guideline. So I'm going for the guys that are coming off later. And the way that this list is designed is not ADP consensus. This is how they could actually potentially finish. So if I tell you I like Drake London in the top 10, which I have him here, doesn't mean you got to spend a second round pick on Drake London. You can get him later. So guys, start using some common sense when I'm talking, because you got to understand, guys, the way people give you advice is they take last year's top finishers and tell you they're going to finish in that order. Never finishes like that. Never works like that. Going back to 2019, Michael Thomas. 2019, he had a great year. In 2020, everyone said draft him first overall. I said no. Amongst wide receivers, that is. I go, no, he's going to decline. Sure enough, Michael Thomas has done nothing for the past 2 years. But everybody in 2019, pinnacle year, 2020, let's draft him. Number one, no. So you got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, right? So again, this list, if I give you, let's say, Drake London, which is in the list, don't draft him in the second round. You got to draft him later, but use common sense. Okay, guys? So let's dive into this here. Let's get into the top 10 wide receivers. Start off at number 10 here. First guy I got here is a guy by the name. You guys know him. I'm wearing the shirt here. Is Michael Pittman. Now, am I going to be drafting Michael Pittman in my drafts? Here's the thing. It's highly unlikely I'm going to be getting him. He's coming off typically in the third round, a 12-person, 1-point PPR league. Last year had himself a good campaign, over 1,000 yards, 1,082 yards, 6 touchdowns. 129 targets for 88 receptions. This year, he gets an upgraded quarterback. He goes from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. Now, a lot of people thinking and sleeping on Matt Ryan, but don't be sleeping on Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan is a typical top 10 finisher at quarterback in his prime years, going back 3-4 years. Last year had a down year, and I keep saying this about Matt Ryan. He was in a situation where he wanted to get out. He wanted that fresh start. He wanted a situation where I can thrive. I can do it. I need a good O-line. I need an opportunity. I need some receivers here, guys. Help me out. He's got that now with the Colts. So when I look at Michael Pittman, I think the opportunity is great. He's the wide receiver 1, but his ADP is expensive. I liked Michael Pittman years ago, or even last year, when he was a good value, right? This year, he's super expensive. I'd rather get Alec Pierce later. I get as a sleeper who's going to be the wide receiver 2. Paris Campbell, I'm not really sold on. But Michael Pittman on paper, if Alec Pierce doesn't really take off as much as I think he will, which I think he will anyway, Michael Pittman, I got him as a top 10 finisher with Matt Ryan throwing him the ball. Ultra efficient run game there. Defense is focused on Jonathan Taylor, which I think is going to regress this year. Go listen to the top 10 running back episode. Again, Michael Pittman has that ceiling, that upside. Am I drafting him? Absolutely not, because I'm going running back there. I'm looking at Zeke Elliott or Breece Hall in round 3. That's straight up, and I explained that in the 16-round draft session. If you have not got it, get it, guys. Use code TUBE20. Get 16 rounds. You'll be light years out of the competition. But as of right now, as a formality, I got to do rankings. I'm doing them here for you. In how they're going to potentially finish, Michael Pittman has that top 10 upside. I absolutely like him, okay? And I want to warn you as well. Tyreek Hill and Adams are not on this list. If you've not listened to my players to avoid list and why I'm avoiding Tyreek and Adams, I suggest you subscribe to this podcast and understand the mythology here and my thought process, because it's very important, guys, you understand why I'm avoiding top studs like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. One reason is that they're copied and pasted from last year, predicated on how they finished on last year, which is ludicrous, not spending that high draft capital, when they've both got downgrades at quarterback and they've got wide receiver 1s in their situation. For example, Waddle, wide receiver 1, guys. Tyreek Hill is entering a situation where Waddle peaked at 141 targets. Tyreek thrived with 159 targets and was very volatile to begin with. So again, very good reasons why these guys are outside the top 10. Another reason I leave them outside the top 10 is because there's no way in hell they'd ever be on my team. So I'm going to avoid them, okay? There you have it. So coming at number 9 here, I like him. The ceiling is massive. Everybody's sleeping on him. Last year, everybody slept on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown had himself a great campaign last year, finished 21st amongst wide receivers. Everybody slept last year, guys, on JaMarr Chase. JaMarr Chase finished top 5 amongst wide receivers. Everybody slept on Jalen Waddle. Waddle finished 13th amongst wide receivers. There's a ton of wide receiver rookies, guys like Treylon Burks, guys like Alec Pierce, guys like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs maybe, and we're not talking sleepers here, but there's a couple bonus ones for you that could actually finish as top 10 wide receivers. So here's one that actually could finish high ceiling. The guy I'm talking about is Drake London, coming at number 9. Not going to spend too much time on him because he is a rookie. We don't have anything to go with in regards to stats in the NFL, but I will tell you this. He's in a position where he could absolutely thrive. He's on the Atlanta Falcons, who don't have a wide receiver 1. They've got Pitts there. They've got a suspect quarterback. I get it, but I think Mariota is efficient enough to get the ball to him and get him that volume and get him those red zone looks and get a lot of touchdowns. Drake London, number 1 prospect here at wide receivers, the first overall pick in the draft, 2022 draft amongst wide receivers. Drake London, the Falcons invested early in him. No other wide receiver there. And again, if it was Calvin Ridley, he'd easily be in the top 10, but he's not. Drake London could actually supersede what Calvin Ridley did. Love him this year. Got him finishing as a top 10 wide receiver. Yes, absolutely love him. And again, there's other guys that could finish. Am I saying, again, draft Drake London in the second round because he's top 10? No. This is the list on how they could finish. I don't do consensus rankings. And again, even me doing this list, I don't like it because lists don't help you win. 16 rounds does. If you haven't got it, go use Tube20. Go get it, because that's going to give you all the optimal players to draft, when to pick these guys properly so that you have that optimal roster as close to bulletproof possible. Get 16 rounds. But Drake London coming at number 9, high ceiling opportunity, wide receiver 1, great volume. Love him, okay? Coming at number 8 here, this could be kind of boom or busty, but I'm going to roll the dice here. I believe in Russell Wilson. I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy at number 8. Sky's the limit. Love the talent. Love the route running. Love the opportunity. This guy was a first-round pick a couple years ago. Didn't really get it going. He's had only, 3 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. That's going to definitely go up this year, obviously, with Russell Wilson throwing the ball. Russell Wilson produced top receivers in Metcalf and Lockett last year and over the years completely. Revival of his career, similar to Matt Ryan. Russell Wilson gets a spike being on the Broncos offense, potent, good running game. They've got Cortland Sutton and Judy. And everyone keeps asking me, Judy or Sutton? I'm leading Judy. I had the beat writer on. He agrees Judy. I feel it's Judy. Judy's the young, dynamic, explosive. Love him, okay? He's going to thrive. I got him coming in at number 8. Do we have to draft him in the second round? No. You get Judy in and around 5th round ADP. But I see that top 10 potential finish if everything gels and it clicks the way I think it's going to click. All right. Coming in at number 7 here. So we got Pittman, London, Judy. Coming in at number 7 here, Keenan Allen. Listen, I love Herbert. I'm a Herbert, ambassador. I'm a Herbert believer. Love him. Keenan Allen coming in at number 7, as safe as they come here at the wide receiver position. Finished 11th last year, 1,038 yards, 6 touchdowns. I'm hoping that he gets a spike in those receiving touchdowns, 106 receptions on 156 targets. What I love about Keenan Allen is that volume. The 157 targets put him, guys, at number 8 amongst wide receivers. Now, when I'm looking at any wide receiver, I love the volume. Now, you look at a guy like Devontae Adams, who was amazing in volume last year, 169 targets. He's on a different offense with Renfro there, who peaked at 128 targets last year with no Adams and no Waller for the most part. Now, how does Adams end up with 169 targets with Renfro still there? Like, it just doesn't work. The numbers don't add up unless he's completely force-fed, and Waller, who peaked at 145 targets a couple years ago, does really well, or becomes a pylon, then Adams, gets 169 targets, but I don't see that volume there. So that's one thing I look at. And with Keenan Allen, he got the volume last year. Like I said, finished 8th in target count last year. Not bad. So I expect that to continue, predicated he stays healthy. He's a top 10 guy. He's got the best quarterback thrown to him, arguably the best quarterback. I love Herbert. So Keenan Allen, love him this year. You could say Williams is there. There's other wide receivers and all that. But Allen is that trusty receiver. Hopefully he stays healthy. There's always that thing in the back of my mind that he gets hurt, because he was hurt years ago. He had this injury bug a couple years ago. He's kind of gotten out of that as of late. I mean, 2016 was rough. 2015 was rough. Missed a couple games in 2018, missed a couple games in 2020. I hope he doesn't get the injury bug. He was safe and solid last year. That kind of always is in the back of my head. And again, similar to other wide receivers, aside from Judy and London, who I love at value this year, Keenan Allen is a guy that I'm not investing in because he's coming off 2nd, 3rd round, not paying it, okay? Coming at number 6, love this guy, love the ceiling, love the talent. Similar to a young, dynamic playmaker, great runner, high draft capital the team spent on him. The guy I'm talking about is CeeDee Lamb coming at number 6. CeeDee Lamb, I mean, literally the sky is the limit for CeeDee Lamb this year, okay? You're talking about an offense that, they like to run the ball, but they also definitely do like to throw the ball as well. So when I look at Dallas, and I look at him, I got to go with last year as kind of like something to look at here. You look at Amari Cooper, he's gone. 103 targets are now freed up. CeeDee Lamb had 120 last year. They got in Jalen Tolbert here, who's a rookie. Michael Gallup's going to be banged up for the first part of the season for a little bit. Their targets are slim and trim. Dalton Schultz take a step up this year for sure. Had a decent campaign last year. But CeeDee Lamb, 120 targets last year, 79 receptions, 1,102 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's definitely going to go up this year as defenses key in on the Pollard and Zeke Elliott committee there. CeeDee Lamb, literally the sky's the limit. Dak definitely likes to throw the ball a lot. 120 targets last year. I'm seeing a spike this year in that. I'm thinking at least 140 targets, 10 touchdowns, 1,200 plus yards. Sky's the limit. Definitely a top 10 finish for CeeDee Lamb if he gets his stuff together and they're gelling and they're vibing. They got that rapport. If everything is firing on all cylinders, this could be a really special connection, high ceiling, and he could actually be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy points this year, potentially. That's how much ceiling is left here with Amari Cooper gone. Excited to see what CeeDee Lamb does. A lot of hype out of him, at a training camp on him. Excited to see it. I got him at number 6. Coming at number 5 here, now that he's been paid, now that he's been incentivized, I like it a lot. The guy I'm talking about is Deebo Samuel. Now, you got to factor in Deebo Samuel. We'll see a slight regression, I think, in fantasy points, but definitely in those rushing touchdowns where he was used as a utility, as a, what do you call it? A Swiss Army knife. That's what I want to say. I think that definitely takes a step down this year. Elijah Mitchell gets integrated more as a running back because he was banged up, whatever. He's going to actually run the ball. They're going to use their running backs this year, whereas, again, Deebo was a running back. If they continue to use Deebo as a running back, he may get hurt. I don't like it. He's a wide receiver, right? So he finally got paid. He got incentivized. I don't have his contract in front of me. It was a lot of money. I think it was like $18 million. It worked out to like $18 million a year over the 3 years, something like that. Paid a fair price. He's going to perform. He likes his home in San Fran. Great. Last year, 1,405 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, 121 targets, 77 receptions. And again, his numbers were heavily inflated with the 8 rushing touchdowns. I expect that to go down. Will his receptions go up? Very possible, right? Again, 121 targets, 77 receptions. That could see a little bit of a spike. Touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. There's room to grow there. Either way, if he's an ultra elite talent. I remember last year, everyone was like, Ayuk ahead of Deebo. I'm like, no, you're nuts, right? Deebo Samuel, guys, this was the guy I believed in last year. Had a pinnacle year. Again, I'm not drafting him. Very early, high draft capital. Not going to do it, but he's got that potential. Coming in number 4, I think this guy takes a significant decline. He's number 1. Everybody's consensus ranking except for mine. I got him at number 4 simply because I'm factoring in a natural regression. Either way, I don't care where he's ranked. This is a formality. Cooper Kupp at number 4. Everyone's got him at number 1. I got him at 4, factoring in a regression. Pinnacle year, guys, last year. There's no way he duplicates those numbers. I mean, 191 targets. I mean, come on, guys. Let's be realistic here. What do you have? 145 receptions. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I'm factoring in a possible injury. Joe, you're so mean. How could you factor an injury? Guys, what goes up must come down. He had a Cinderella season last year. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong for a guy who has such a perfect season. Michael Thomas, 2019 as an example. Antonio Brown, he had a couple consistent years. It's very possible the Cooper Kupp does. We're talking Super Bowl hangover here. We're talking, natural regression. We're talking Allen Robinson. We're talking already Matt Stafford talking about having some issues with his elbow, his throwing elbow or shoulder, all this drama. Again, such a perfect season. It was perfect. It was like the perfect storm. It doesn't happen. Lightning doesn't strike two places at the same time, 2 places, or one place twice. You guys get what I'm saying. 1,947 receiving yards, 191 targets. He's coming down. In fact, I might scratch him out the top 10. I'm just not going to draft him. But either way, formality, Cooper Kupp, great. You got to give him some credit where it's due. Number 4. Coming at number 3, another guy I'm not drafting, Justin Jefferson, coming off also a Cinderella couple seasons this year. He's having this debate with JaMarr Chase on who the best wide receiver is on social media. I'm not really a Jefferson guy because, again, I talked about him and Thielen for the first 8 or 9 weeks having similar target share. And when you're looking at touchdowns, they were tied. And Thielen played like 4 or 5 less games. Jefferson got a huge boost at the end with Thielen being out. I'm not sold on Jefferson. I still think Thielen could be the wide receiver 1. I get Thielen in the 5th round. Great value. I still think he's the wide receiver 1. Again, Jefferson had a better years, but again, Thielen was banged up. The point I'm trying to exaggerate here is give me Thielen for round 5 or 6 and fade Jefferson, go robust RB. It's never about rankings here, guys. It's always about avoiding a certain player, getting a value, and getting a running back earlier on when it comes to these early wide receivers. Jefferson, I'm fading. Love it. I mean, he's very talented, right? And again, all kidding aside, he is the wide receiver 1. But the point I'm trying to make is Thielen could be the wide receiver 1, okay? Too close to call. I'm going for the value with Thielen, going running back here in the early rounds, okay? Coming at number 2, as safe as they come. At the time of this recording, there is some talk about some flirting of Odell Beckham Jr. joining the Buffalo Bills. They've already got Gabriel Davis. They got a ton of targets, but Diggs is still the number 1. So at number 2 here, I got Stefon Diggs, another guy I'm going to be hesitating drafting. I recommend him in my 16 rounds, but I always recommend going robust RB. But he is an option there if you want to go wide receiver. Stefon Diggs, as consistent as they come. Work ethic, solid. Quarterback, solid. Volume's going to be what? Solid. When you look at targets last year, Stefon Diggs, 165 targets, 103 receptions, 1,225 yards, 10 touchdowns. It's picture perfect. It's great. It's not overly inflated. It's not under-inflated. It's that perfect balance of touchdowns to 1,225 yards to yardage, right? Everything looks great. Targets are right where I need them. Number 5 in targets. Absolutely love them, guys. Diggs at number 2. And coming at number 1, I just think the ceiling is the highest for this guy. The guy I'm talking about is JaMarr Chase. And I've talked about this in my other videos. What I love about JaMarr Chase is the guy finished top 5 amongst wide receivers in PPR, but he only had 128 targets. When you compare that to a guy like Jefferson with 167, a guy like Devontae Adams who finished 2nd with 169 targets, and a guy like Cooper Kupp, this guy got more done with less volume, which is phenomenal, right? I mean, 304 PPR fantasy points, 1,455 receiving yards, 13 receiving touchdowns. Phenomenal. And he's young, he's dynamic, young quarterback. All the upside in the world is in JaMarr Chase. He is this year's Cooper Kupp. If anyone has to be this year's Cooper Kupp, unless a rookie breaks out completely like a Drake London and becomes that, or CeeDee Lamb, there's other guys. But if I have to choose who the next Cooper Kupp is for this year, it has to be JaMarr Chase. I just think there's more ceiling to be had. He comes down with phenomenal catches, great route running, just a great receiver here. JaMarr Chase coming in at my number 1. So there you have it, guys. JaMarr Chase, Stefon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, and Michael Pittman as how they could potentially finish. Again, there's going to be some surprises. Maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown cracks the top 10. Maybe Tyreek has that big year and he connects. Maybe DK Metcalf actually gets a quarterback and starts, cracking that top 10. Brandon Cooks, absolutely love him. I think he'll get a lot of volume this year with Davis Mills. There's a ton of wide receivers, guys. The point I'm trying to make is tons of depth at wide receiver. Go robust RB. Use this as a guideline only, okay? Fade the early wide receivers and get the value, okay? There's a ton of wide receiver ones after the 3rd, 4th, 5th round available, all right? And tons of sleeper wide receivers. If you want all the information, get 60-round draft solution, linked it below. Use code TUBE20. Get the solution. Dominate your draft. And, of course, join the Patreon group, patreon.com/FFCounselor. Join me on the front lines, the fantasy front lines, guys, all right? We'll talk soon, guys. Subscribe, thumbs up. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Fantasy football wide receiver rankings right here for you laid out. Only use it as a guideline. We'll talk soon.